What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. I'm gonna go ahead and do a review of my 2009 Pontiac G8. I don't see too many YouTube videos of people reviewing the G8, at least none from recent years. They're all from like 7 years ago, so I figured I would do a recent one in 2023 and give you an owner's perspective of it. So if you're new to the channel, this is not a stock G8. I'll have all the mods listed in the description below, but the most important one I'm going to mention right now is this doesn't have the normal GT's motor. The normal GTs come with a 6-liter L76, and this is a 6.2 liter LS3 crate motor swap. So right now I'm just going to do the quick differences between a GT and a GXP. So if you don't know, the G8 comes in 3 different trim levels. There's the base, which is a V6. Don't even bother with that one. Then there's the GT and then the GXP. So for the GT, it comes with a 6-liter L76, which is basically an LS2 bottom end with an LS3 top end that has DOD, which shuts down 4 cylinders for gas savings. It has like a really weak camshaft in it for that. So it only makes around like 355 horsepower to the crank stock. The GXP comes with a 6.2 liter LS3, and that one's rated for 415 horsepower. That one doesn't have any DOD. It's a straight pure LS3 out of the C6 Corvette. So that's one of the biggest differences between the GT and the GXP. But another big difference is the transmission. So both GT and GXP can be optioned with a 6-speed automatic 6L80, but the GXP can also get a 6-speed manual TR6060 manual transmission. So not a lot of people know that the GXP can actually come in an automatic as well, but it can be both automatic and manual. Some other differences between the GT and the GXP: the GXP has a different front end, it's got a different rear diffuser, it comes with FE3 suspension, which is it's got tighter or stiffer springs, nitrogen filled shocks, and I believe a thicker rear sway bar. And then the last main differences between a GT and the GXP is the GXP with the automatic comes with 327 gears in the back, and then the manual comes with 370. Stock GT comes with 292. So that's one of the main differences, or one of the bigger differences. This GT though has 345 gears out of a 5th gen Camaro SS swapped into it, so I don't really have to worry about that problem. And then the last few main differences with the GXP: it's got 14-inch rotors up front with 4-pot Brembo brakes. I think it's 4, it's either 4 or 6-pot, I can't remember, one of those two. And then it's got a thicker steering wheel, GXP embroidered in the seats, and some GXP badges. But other than that, they're the same cars. At the end of this video, I will just state my opinion on if you should try to swing for the GXP or not. But for right now, let's go ahead and just do an overview of the car. So if you don't know, the G8 is actually an Australian car. It's a Holden Commodore that was imported to the US and had different bumpers swapped, made a left-hand drive, and that's pretty much it. So this is technically a Holden Commodore. There's actually like a Holden, this is built by Holden under the hood, I think. But looking at my favorite part of the G8 is the looks. I mean, I think it's pretty timeless in my opinion. You know, you got the classic Pontiac beak looking style from that era. I actually quite like the way it looks. I mean, I know a lot of guys swap to the Holden front end, but me personally, I like the G8's front end a lot better. One of the most notable design elements of the G8 is the wide fender flares. It looks like a wide body from the factory, so it looks, you can get some pretty good fitment going on. Get some nice wide tires in the front and the rear. I mean, overall, the G8 just looks awesome to me. Heading around to the back, this is what it is from the side angle. It's got some aftermarket taillights and headlights, so those are not factory. The stock headlights to me, or the stock taillights to me, look pretty ugly. They don't suit the car that well in my opinion, so I really like the upgraded ones that I put on. The diffuser down there is a GT diffuser. The GXP just has some bars going through. It looks a lot better. A lot of guys swap it over to that. We have a little built-in spoiler right here. It likes to, yeah, it's a little loose, but whatever. But overall, I mean, this is my favorite part of the car, is the looks of it. It just looks super aggressive and wide and mean on the road. And it's pretty distinguishable. When you see a G8, you know that there's no mistaking it for anything else. Even though the common crowd just calls this whatever they want. Mostly a G6, which is a disgrace because those are kind of piece of shit cars. So now we'll go ahead and take a look at the interior. So heading into the interior of the G8, you know, this is 2000s GM, so don't expect it to, you know, blow you away. But for that era, this honestly isn't that bad of a place to be. You have some nice leather seats. They're really comfortable, but they don't have that aggressive of a bolster. So for spirited driving, taking this, you know, through some turns, even though that's not what this car is really meant to be, but if you were to try to, these don't hold you in all that well. But for long road trips and, you know, daily commuting, they are actually very comfortable. Here we have this nice leather wrapped steering wheel. You got some nice controls for your infotainment on here. This is aftermarket infotainment system, but the stock G8 does come with, you know, obviously a radio. You got your volume and skip buttons here. You can do your calling right here, and then this is to control the center gauges, or the center screen. I honestly really like the gauges in the G8. They're nice and subtle. Font's good. They don't, everything's really simple. You know, you got temperature, tax, speedo, and then fuel. And then that center screen has a bunch of information that you can get. There's a secret hack thing called engineering mode for the G8s, and in there it has a bunch of like oil temp, coolant temp, trans temp. You know, you have your miles per gallon, everything like that. So that center screen is actually very nice for 2009. Coming over here, you know, you got your climate control. This, again, this entire climate system is aftermarket, so it won't look like that in a stock G8. Coming down to the center here, one of the most interesting parts of the G8 is the window controls. So on the actual side of the door, there isn't anything. There's no buttons, there's no switches. It's pretty blank. Some people say that is to make it look like a, you know, old hot rod. In my opinion, I think they just did it to, you know, they were going to import it, make it cheap. So they can just have everything in the middle, instead of, if it was in Australia, they'd have to take all the controls over there and swap it to here. So it's in the middle. It took me a while to get used to it, but now any car that I'm in that isn't a G8, I always reach for the middle to try to do the windows. And so now if I ever own a next car, it's going to be a pain to try to relearn muscle memory that. Over here you do have your easy traction control button. You press that one button, you don't have to hold it down, you don't do any weird fancy foot dances to turn it off. You just press that off and traction control's off. It's really nice. There's no freaking haiku dance summoning Jesus to try to get it to turn off, so that's really nice. You do have heated seats here in the G8 and a nice 12-volt cigarette outlet. 2 cup holders down here, and then you have your mat pockets with cup holders on both sides. Plenty of storage. Nice center armrest in here with a nice deep pocket and another 12-volt outlet. Overall, the interior of the G8, I think, has held up pretty decently. I mean, obviously it's not new, like Cadillac standard quality, but for me, it does everything that I need to do. And one of my other favorite parts of the interior, so if we head onto the back here, it'd be nice if I unlock to the car. For your rear passengers, there is plenty of room. This is my driving position, and I'm only, you know, 5'11", but still I've got some nice place to put my feet underneath, and I have plenty of knee room, and my head clears the roof easily. I've had people sit back here before and they have had zero issues. You even have some nice climate vents for the AC or the heating. No heated seats back here, but I mean, it's not that bad. They do have a center armrest right here, which is weird because this doesn't have any cup holders in it. But if you fold this part down, you get this huge like fucking tray of just whatever. So it's pretty interesting that they decided to go this route, but I think it's kind of cool. All right, let's go ahead and take the G8 for a drive. There is no push button start, normal key, so key in the ignition.
Low battery.
And the engine roars. LS3 sounds fantastic. This has a Corsa catback on it, so it's going to sound even better than stock. So here's that center screen I was talking about. If you go into here, you can see a bunch of, you can go into metric if you wanted to. It tells you your tire pressure. You can customize some options. It tells you your current trip, how many miles you have left and everything, your range. So my average fuel consumption is 14 miles to the gallon. Obviously this is a V8, you're not expecting, you know, crazy gas mileage or everything, but for how hard I romp on it, I think that's pretty good in my opinion. And then digital speedometer. So let's go ahead and set off in the G8. So the G8 does technically have different drive modes. It's not like, it doesn't adjust the steering or the dampening or anything, but it's mostly for the transmission. So right now we're in normal drive mode. If I slap the stick over, it'll say sport shift, and it'll hold the gears longer while you're driving, as well as the throttle response is a lot better. So if you just slightly tap the gas, it's more willing to downshift. And then if you were to pull back on the lever, then it goes into manual mode. So for right now, we're gonna go and start in normal drive. I will keep traction control off though, because I don't have any problems with traction in this, and it likes to cut down power pretty easily on it. But setting off here in the G8, I mean, my favorite part of this is how comfortable it is. This is, you know, one of the best packages for performance and comfortability. I could drive this on a really long road trip with absolutely zero issues. This is one of the more comfortable cars I've ever driven in. So the car is already warmed up, so I'm gonna slap it over into sport and give you guys a nice little pull right here. Oh man, so the LS3 that I have in this is rated for 430 horsepower. So the normal GXPs is 415, so there's a slight bump in there. With the mods that I have, I'd assume I'm around like 450. It's full bolt on and tuned, so a little bit higher than that. But man, is this fun to rip on. I have a very heavy foot anytime I'm in this car. It's just so easy to gas it and hear that V8 roar. And that's the best part. I just did a really nice pull right there, great power, and slap it back in a normal drive mode, and now I'm just sitting here relaxing, chilling in traffic, and I love that aspect about it. This is one of my favorite parts of the car as well, other than the looks, is how daily drivable it is. Obviously the worst part about that is the gas mileage, and you know, that's just what you're gonna get with a V8. Another thing is, since it's rear-wheel drive, you know, some people may be hesitant to drive it in snowy weather. I live here in Colorado, and I daily drive this in the winter, and I have had zero issues. Now I do swap the tires over to, I have my stock wheels, so I put my stock wheels with winter tires on whenever it gets snowy out. But with that setup, I haven't had any issues at all. It's been one of the most comfortable I've felt driving in the winter with a car. So obviously it's not going to survive like freaking Canada level snow, but still it's pretty impressive for what kind of car this is. Go ahead and slap it back over into sport, downshifts immediately. And it gets up to speed so fast. Car weighs around just a tick under 4,000 pounds. I think it's like 3,995 or something like that. The GXP actually does weigh 4,000 pounds. I don't know what the difference is within that. Maybe some of the suspension or those Brembo brakes. But regardless, 430 horsepower in a 4,000 pound car, you know, it doesn't sound like that much by today's standards, but it is plenty enough to have fun with. So I'm gonna do another quick pull here. No one's behind me, so I'm gonna actually do a 40 roll. Let me slow all the way down. Alright, so from a 40 roll, what I normally do is I slap it over into manual, go down to second gear, floor it, and then slap it back into normal. Oh man, what a blast. Taking it around the corners, you know, it's not what it's really made for, but it gets the job done. I know I've seen a couple of people take this autocrossing, and you know, they say it does pretty fine with some upgraded suspension components, you know, coilovers, sway bar, trailing arms, tow arms, stuff like that. So that's what I just love the G8 for. You can do a drag setup, you can do autocross, you could build one for just a regular daily driver like this is. There's just so many different ways you could build a G8 to what you want it to be tailored towards. So I love the car for that aspect. You can really build this however the hell you want it. Power in the LS3 is awesome. You know, it comes on really early all the way up to the top of the power band. Normal rev redline is at 6,000 RPMs, but this has a tune on it, so that bumped it up to around 6,600. So it's not, you know, too crazy like Coyotes that go all the way up to 7,000, but still plenty of time to get some good power in there. I'm gonna go ahead and turn around here since the pavement ends. And since I'm turned around and no one's behind me, this would be a good opportunity to do a quick little launch. Alright, traction control's off. I'm gonna slap it over in sport, foot on the brake, foot on the gas, and go. Oh my god, this thing hauls, man. It's so quick. I'm up here in like 6,000 feet elevation, and everybody here is boosted. They got crazy fucking turbo and supercharger setups on it. So for just full bolt-ons NA, this thing at 6,000 feet elevation still boogies. So I'm really curious how this would do at sea level, because up here the air is so thin, it's hard to make decent power, but or without, you know, forced induction. So as the car is right now, it is a blast. I think this is like the perfect power level. You know, I don't ever lose traction when, you know, I don't want to. I can just, you know, put on the no spin at all. Look at that, my Pontiac brethren. Oh my gosh, I love this car, guys. This car is just so much fun. Slap it over into sports mode. Brakes feel great. This does have upgraded rotors and pads. The GXP would obviously feel a little bit better in that department with those Brembos. They do make kits for the GTs, so you could upgrade those to GXP style if you wanted. Oh man, what a fun fucking car. For $20,000 to $25,000, you would be hard pressed finding a better, well-rounded car. Obviously, you know, you can get like a Subaru STI around there, like an older one. And that one will probably get you better gas mileage, and it's all-wheel drive, so you could, you know, have more confidence in the snow. But man, I would still choose a G8. I love V8s. You know, nothing against 4-banger turbos or anything. You know, there's definitely still great ones out there with that, but for the money, the G8 is fantastic. All right, everyone, so to answer the question in the title, yes, I do believe a G8 is worth buying in 2023. Obviously, I'm a little biased because it's my car, but I, you know, didn't buy it for no reason. I think the car is fantastic. It's got so many different purposes that you can build it for. So I do believe you should get one. Now, whether you should get a GT or GXP, I think that's a different story. So if you could find a GXP for a decent price with low mileage, even if it's a automatic one, I think you should try to swing for that. They are more rare than the GTs. They made way more GTs than they did GXPs, but there's so many different things that make the GXP worth it. The LS3, the different gears in the back, the Brembos. I mean, those are main things that a lot of people swap into the G8 minus the LS3. Not to say that GT's bad or anything. Obviously, it's a great car. Mine's a GT, and even with the L7V6 that was in it, it still made awesome power. I think for those, all you gotta do is just delete the DOD and put a bigger camshaft in it, and you'll be right out there with GXP level power. But you still need the rear gears, the different suspension, the Brembo brakes. So a GXP is definitely worth more money, but if you can only afford a GT, I still think that's a great option as well. There's, you know, plenty of aftermarket parts that you can make the G8 GT as good as the GXP, and for, you know, you can build it for around the same money. All right, everyone, so that's all I have for you guys today. Thank everybody for watching. If you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. I am trying to hopefully get more G8 content with you guys. Hopefully I can get some roll races against some other V8 cars for you, but I just want to appreciate everyone for tuning in, and see you next time.